Welcome to the second episode of Doctor of Animal Kingdom. Today we have the honor to sit with an Ivy League resident, Dr. Dhruv Desai, a clinical microbiology resident at the University of Pennsylvania. Dr. Desai did his undergrad from Navsara Agriculture University with an Vice Chancellor Award. Then he went to do his master's to IVRI and then his PhD back to his home school, Navsarai. Dr. Dhruv Desai has worked with many government agencies in NISAD in Bhopal, which is our BSL-3 lab, and then they did his PhD, a postdoc in Ohio University, and now he's a clinical resident at an Ivy League university, University of Pennsylvania. First of all, Dr. Desai, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, and thank you for having me over here.
Before we deep dive into this conversation, how did you manage to study for this much long? 6 years of undergrad, 2 years of masters, 3 years of PhD, and then you went for a postdoc for a year, and now a 4 year of clinical long microbiology residency. How did you manage to do this thing, and what it takes to do all of this?
Yeah, first of all, you see, for a middle class person or the person coming from the middle class background, we only have education is the key. Education is the passport for success, right? So
Yes,
I'm privileged that I was born in a family that values the educations. My mother and my father has always instilled that uh, instill that skills and instill that values, first of all, that you should go for education. So I think uh, that's how my journey started initially from the veterinary medicines, and from there it just like your interest and your passions that leads to your journey. Yeah, you never, I mean, like, as a person or as a doctor or anyone, let's say for anyone who are pursuing that occupations or professions, uh,
exactly.
they don't build, or they don't see like, okay, I will do that, I will do that. It's just like you just go through the journey, right? And once you go through the journey, you figure it out that what you want to do from your life. And that's how I build, like, that's how I was going through from my undergrad to my postgrad to see the PhD stuff and what I wanted to do in my life. So that's how I built. I never plan it. The thing is, even to choosing your university and everything, it was not decided early, but you just go through it, right? You just figure it out through the journey. So it's not a destination, but the journey that I went through, and that's how I make myself to be this sort of experience, or landed to the PhD and postdoc and now a resident.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Before we go deep in, first of all, why you opted for veterinary medicine in the first place? Was there a particular moment or experience that you had which influenced you to opt for veterinary medicine as
Yeah.
a career?
Yeah, I think, of course, we live in a Indian society that make you the feel like you be like a doctor, engineers, lawyers, something like that. That can be your educations strongly. So it's always there in my family that I should be a doctor or something. Like, even I was being a person, like, as a child, I was thinking that, okay, let's just go for to be a doctor. But which doctor you want to go for, like a medical doctor or a vet doctor? So for that, my one of my father's friend, he was that time a managing director of one of the great dairy in South Gujarat. His name is Pushpakant Pandey, and he is he's a veterinarian, and he achieved so much from his life, like from the normal graduates of vet medicines, and achieving a managing director to the one dairy. That actually influenced me a lot, that animal doctor can do a lot of stuff in his life. And as a human medicines or a human medical graduate, you just treat of one species, right? And as a veterinarian, we are like, we treat across many species. So I think that was initial kind of influence, or it's kind of passion, that I see them, I look for them, and that's how I end up with having a vet medicines.
Okay, okay, wonderful, wonderful, amazing. Like an uncle of your
Yeah.
father's friend, an uncle influenced you to become a veterinarian, and you are very thankful to him that he came into your life and
Yeah,
influenced you. Amazing.
exactly.
If you had the opportunity to go back to your undergrad days, like it's the first day of your undergrad, like what are the things that you would like to do differently? If you had to go back to your first year, the first day in your college, what are the things that you would do differently that I, as a first year student, or anyone who is watching this video and they are starting their vet school, how they can apply in their life or what they should look for?
Yeah, I think I'd be honest about that. Like, when we started our journey, like personally, when I started journey, we mostly focus about just studying the stuff. Like, let's say, the class, attending the class, practicals, going giving exams, right? And if you'd be interested to go some stuff, of course, I did a lot of stuff in my undergrad, and that's how I built my profile. And it's not that just wanted to build, but it was like out of passions. I did a lot of stuff. But if I wanted to go back, then I think I can utilize my free time very, very well. You know, uh, I can see, or if I be given a chance, like I be doing some internship in my free time, I take a I drop some of my time, I drop should I some of my classes, and I should definitely pursue my passions out of my mainstream study. I mean to say, I pursue my hobbies. Like there are like many hobbies you can build, right?
Exactly.
You can go for internship to the IIT, you can go for internship for IISc, you can go any company to go for like to see. I mean, ultimately you can even go for your music class. Like, I mean, it's just like you have to have some hobby that can build simultaneously during your undergrad. So I think that's the things. I mean, I would say, like, if I be going back, then working on more, like utilizing most of my free time. Otherwise, of course, I need some of the good things from apart from my study. But yeah, I'm still thinking that I can be a better version if I have developed some of the, like, utilize some of the great time that time.
Okay. So your major focus would be pursuing non-academic hobbies
Yeah,
and something which would influence and give you more perspective toward things
exactly,
indifferently. And still you are saying that you could be a different version if you had that. You are doing
exactly.
amazing, Dr. Desai.
Yeah,
You are truly an amazing inspiration to all of us.
yeah, the thing is, what I learn about my undergrad is like, if you travel a lot, if you have a good, if you go by your way, if you go have a travel solo, you can go through a lot of
Yeah,
understanding of life. So I mean to say that to be an undergrad, you learn a lot of things that a person can learn even after that 40, right? You can achieve, or you can have that kind of a sensitivity, a sensible stuff in your life that a person can may achieve after 50 years of life. So this
obviously.
undergrad give you a 5 years or 6 years of your journey, can give you a literally a great time to utilize, literally
Right.
a lot of free time that can you use for yourself, to know more about yourself, right? So I think that's how I think I can utilize my time. And I will suggest to a first year student to use your undergrad to build yourself, not to just take a degree, but build yourself.
Okay. You just have to use your time wisely. That is the core thing that Dr. Desai is trying to say. When you were in your final year, you compiled a question bank for ICR JRF. It receives many clicks even now. What compelled you to compile that question bank? And what was your thought process while compiling?
Yeah. So I think I will take this opportunity to clarify that I think, of course, as you mentioned, I compiled it. So this is a
Yeah,
material. I'm not the person who actually created, but the thing is, of course, there are few questions are mine. There are compilation of all the material which is available in the, like, a online media or somehow. So anything which you do, it's come off from like some problem, right? So
yeah,
if you face a problem, if you face a challenge in your life, and if you have a courage to solve that, you can compile this book, right? Even you can do, or anyone can do. So uh, to be honest, it was my I think our I'm from the third batch of the college, and
Okay.
we of course I have a professor. They are literally training us. They are literally guiding us for pursuing the postgrad. But there is no as a student level guidance that I can get, or there is no
Okay.
materials, or there is no standard way of uh, like approaching the exam, because every exams have a strategy. We can definitely talk about the strategy in some other way, but we can talk about in some other video. But the thing is, like, to approach them, I don't have anything to read about. I don't have anything that can guide me about. So somehow that's make me to think like, okay, let's just have some compilations rather to go with a big bunch of books to all your internship, right? To traveling with the
Yes.
books. You just have some digital stuff that can you can read. You can have refreshment of that stuff. So that's how I face a challenge and try to compile and just let it be as a free stuff for the students. And I think, yeah, as you mentioned, that many students are reading nowadays as well. But I think
Yes.
hope it's helpful for them.
Indeed. Any support you got from your colleagues or teachers? Any support when you were compiling? When it just came, right? It always starts from an idea. Like,
Exactly.
I want to do this. I want to pursue that thing. Any support or any or guidance from your teachers? Like, as you mentioned, like they were guiding you to prepare for the postgrad.
Yeah, I think it was great to have a professor like Dr. Anju and Dr. TK's Rauser. They are like both are guiding us a lot. I mean, it's in a great way, in a better way. So I think I would say they are supporting in terms of encouragement, in terms of motivations. But of course, as such, it was not there was no support from my colleagues or from other stuff, because I was doing some unusual stuff. It was not that
Yeah.
something people wanted to do, right? So, but yeah, I think it's fine that I did that stuff.
Okay. I would like to emphasize a little bit more. What was what they were saying to you when you were compiling that book? Because I feel like your peers influence your mindset, what you are thinking, and it really affects the with the people that you are sitting and eating and talking about everything, right? They are your peers, and how that influenced your writing.
I think, to be honest with you, it's like my batchmates or even my peers are literally a supportive in terms of they know that these guys are doing something. You know, I mean, I'm not the person like. Of course, I was a backbencher that time, and of course, we have that seating arrangements and something like that.
Yeah.
Many times I was barred from the class. I have sit outside my class, and it was I remember still remember many professor who doesn't like sometimes to come to not come on that time, right? And there are many conflict as well. So it's fine that they are supporting me in terms of that this guy is gonna do something. But of course, like at that time they don't know what is the worth of that, right? So like why you're
Right.
wasting time, or like what's or what.
Better study for the postgrad exam,
Yeah, or
something like that.
maybe of course, like there are many, I mean, like I would say there are very few students who wanted to do pursue their postgrad. I think most
Okay.
of the persons who think about getting a job, because of course you studied for a 5 years 6 year whatever the years you go for your undergrad, and it's a long journey, to be honest.
Indeed.
5 years of journey, it's literally a long, and mostly students
Yes.
wanted to go don't wanted to pursue further and wanted to go for a job, and I think that's fine, nothing wrong with that. But the thing is, like, very few students were there at that time to pursue the postgrad, and that's how, like, they know that this guy is going to do that stuff. But yeah, of course, apart from them, it's just people think like it's just a waste of time.
Okay. Amazing. After your undergrad, you went to IVRI for a master's in microbiology. What inspired you to pursue microbiology and pathology as your minor?
I think I just correct you that it was like my master's in vet immunology, and my minor
Okay.
was animal biotech and bit of pathology subjects. But the thing is, I was already prepared from the third year that I wanted to go with this subject,
Okay.
surgery or medicine subjects or any clinical subjects. I was like, I was knowing that if I wanted to pursue that, I will first take some experience,
Okay.
to have a
Clinical experience.
exactly. So the way we study, or the way masters are like organized, or they are like a uh, or like built in our system, is very different, right? It's like based on research and bit of clinical
Yes.
experience. So uh,
Even now.
exactly. So the thing is, I wanted to go paraclinical subjects where I can focus on research. Most of the part, my most of the time, just go to the research stuff. So when I was studying this microbiology and other paraclinical subjects, so honestly, it's like a professor's influence, or you can say that the way they teach you, the way let you know what is this stuff going. And the second point is, the most important point is like the way you approach the subjects, the way you like instill yourself, or you deep dive into the subjects, and depending on your interest, right, you choose your journey. So that's
Right.
how I ended of going microbiology, because infectious disease and these stuffs is literally a passion for me to pursue, to know that more about. And that the COVID-19 is a disrupt the
Yeah, exactly.
whole world, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how, like, I wanted to go for something that is challenging me, because this is the field you never, like, you cannot settle, right? This field is like evolving day by day. Even if you go for pharmacology, drug discovery need to be
Yes.
there like day by day. Otherwise you don't have a drug to treat even a simple infection or a simple
Exactly.
pyoderma. So that's how I
Exactly.
end up. Yeah.
And as well as AMR is also rising day by day. Every other drug which is available to doctors, it is becoming resistant
Yeah.
and it's not working. So we need drug discovery. And I feel like microbiology and pharmacology, they go both in sync. Like if a microbiologist has discovered that this microbe or this agent is not has become resistant, develop change in the structure or cell or something like that, then the pharmacologists have to act on it. So I feel like both are interlinked and they are synchronous.
Yeah.
Before move to your masters, why you feel like microbiology has changed your perspective? As you have said, you have it's a very personal thing, you have to deep dive into the subject. How you took microbiology, like when you were studying microbiology, what was your thought process? How you, because for me, studying, it's like creating images in the head. Whatever you are writing, whatever you are reading, like you are reading some text, right? Let's take staphylococcus as an example. What was the text we are reading? How you were able to channelize into a visualization, like that text, a written text into a image or visualization? What was the process of that?
Yeah. So, of course, let's just talk deeper way in for these questions. We
Sure.
start from basic science subjects, then paraclinical subjects and clinical subjects that would be like more applicable subjects. So, if you think about the basic science subject, they have like pretty much well set of criteria. If you talk about anatomy, biochemistry, that many people know that this is the structures, this is the chemicals process that happen in the
Yes.
body irrespective of different species, right? Of course different species have a different ways and some additions or some different stuff, but it's pretty defined. The second one, if you go through the management stuff, that livestock productions management, it's also pretty defined line, right? And if you talk about now paraclinical subjects, you know that these line or these particular subjects changing every day. So
Yeah, they are.
when I was studying microbiology, I was passionate about, and it's actually fascinating to things like a bacteria, a tiny stuff is still alive. You know,
Yes.
it's
Amazing.
not like that. It's not a like it's something like not a living thing, but it's a living. It's doing reproductions, right? It's also like try to defend themselves. how these bacteria are like doing, I mean, like they are defending themselves against chemicals, against like antimicrobials. So thing is, it's a like a nature's behavior they are actually adopting as well. If you think like a plant, if you think about the animals, humans, all they for them, its life is very precious. They always protect themselves, right?
Yes.
And the same things bacteria are doing, and that's making me so much fascinated about that, how the tiny stuff making themselves resistant to the antimicrobials or some kind of a chemicals that they don't for them, because for if you think about that perspective, that the bacteria wanted to live, wanted to reproduce, the nature's like it's all the nature's stuff, it's going on. If you talk about virus, for if you talk about fungi, so that's make me fascinate about and think about like why these tiny stuffs have still think of, I mean, have a life. And it's not just that particular stuff, but if you think about these survival, right, it's when it's infections happen, it's all always a thing about survivability.
Survivor.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So virus wanted to do reproductions of, if you think in that way, of course it do the replications, and it's there are different parts like in a body, in a host. Same bacteria wanted to go for reproductions to replicate themselves. So this is also a world. So that's why I got like more deeper like interest that these they are living in their own world. This is the micro world, if you think.
They have their own struggles. They have to
Exactly.
also make the end meet.
Exactly. So this is the thing like that make me literally crazy about that. Okay, I think I would definitely end up having these subjects and pursue. I will not gonna go for some other stuff, but I'm gonna to like this is the one of the stuff that I wanted to pursue in life and see how this field is changing, how we can come up with some stronger way. Because of course, as a human, you also need some. You also wanted to survive in this world, right? So
Right,
this is
exactly.
always challenging. It is always challenging for the both way. Yeah,
It is, it is. And to add to the second point, what you said, bacteria are the most primitive organism, even though they are functioning and working in an amazing sense that you mentioned, like it's a very tiny organism, how it's surviving. And to that thing, neurons come to my mind.
exactly.
They cannot replicate. When they die, they get injury, they cannot replicate. And they are functioning and they are involved in everything. Single pinch, single touch sensor. It's amazing. Like biology, for me, neurons are something
Yeah.
that always fascinates me. Now, moving forward, during a master's, something happened. A tragedy struck. You failed in the subject of your life. How did you manage with the stress? Some comments were passed. Gold medalist from Navsarai also failed here. What was your mind frame back then when the result was announced? How you dealt with this? And before the results was announced, you were also honored with a gold medal.
Yeah, so this is one of the uh, I mean turning point of my life, I would say, because when I joined IVRI, and I was going through a good time. My mom passed away that time, so uh, this was really like a very emotional stuff for me. Like my mom died, and my family collapsed, because you know that a mother's, I mean, like for a child, the mother
Exactly.
loss is literally a big thing in his life, right? And you be a child just growing and just passed from the undergrad, you are started growing, you started getting understanding what's about, I mean, like you just started your journey, right? You started
Yes.
just to know about yourself, you started just to live your life, right? And yeah, this tragedy happened that my mom died, and that was like a first, I would say, my emotional breakdown. It was a biggest tragedy that I would say, and therefore I was not able to focus myself. Of course, and I mean, like there were seniors, right? There are like a people to support you, but the thing is, pain and suffering is very personal, right? And
Yes.
that's the reason
It is.
why I I got fail in one of the subjects, and it was really tragic. But it's a turning point in my life to know that I experience what is a fail being. I mean, what to like. I mean, like you suffer through the failure, and you know what to be. I mean, how it feel, how it feel to you to be a failure of one of the subjects. Because I see that there are a lot of people are failing in their subjects, and a person who just go through the journey, just pass every exam, they don't understand what is the importance of that, right? So yeah, so I'm of course, as you mentioned, that I'm a vice chancellor gold medalist for my undergrad, and uh, and and sometimes I got fail in one of the subjects. But the thing is, if because I was going through my emotional breakdown, my mom passed
Yes.
away, and that's making me not capable enough to deal with the real life, right? To deal with the education, to deal with other normal stuffs of human life, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, so the thing is, because of because of that, my tragedy hit. I was not able to concentrate, I would say. And I think many students go through some kind of
Trauma and
stuff.
stress. Yes.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, it's always personal stuff to you. uh, you and other people never know of what the person's going through the stuff, and it's fine that people don't look that way. If people don't be a sympathize to you, or it's fine, completely fine. You have to focus on yourself. You have to deal with your own conditions, or own situations. And the thing is, you have to own up your stuff. If you get failed, if you get pass, if you have some tragedy in your life, you have to own up, and you have to start, like, how to you have to
You
prepare
need to
yourself.
buckle up and work. You need
Yeah,
to work on yourself.
yeah, and how
Okay.
you can come up very stronger, right? That's how
Exactly.
you have to deal with that. Otherwise, otherwise the thing is that, like, you never gonna be success in your life. And the thing is, the taste of failure is literally a building block for a success, I would say. Yeah.
First of all, Dr. Desai, it must have been really devastating to hear your mom's die. But, and then now you have been very successful. I hope she's looking down from the stars and she's very happy for you. And with this, we are talking about trauma and stress, and you discussed about sympathy and empathy. I would like to go a little bit further from a student to a teacher perspective. How a teacher can build perspective, because teachers, they have also their life, right? They have their family, if they are married, their husband, wife, their children, their life struggles, and then they have to look for. If we take in my college, there are 100 student in one batch, and they have to look for 100 student questioning paper department with, and then how they can handle all this. Like, you are also involved in teaching, you have taught in Navsarai, and now you are also taking classes of DVM in US as a part of your residency. How a teacher can deal and understand, and they can apply, how they can build that kindness, because as students, you are backbencher, like I am also a backbencher, so we have this tendency to sometimes like cross the line, and then the teachers, they restrict, then they have to become more strict. How a teacher can develop this empathy and kindness toward their student, even though the student is not, and why the student is failing, how they can build a system. Any suggestions on that?
I think, as a student, and a student turned assistant professor, or whatever you can, uh, for that positions, like, if let's say a person from a student turn to the teachers, right? It's like it's a transitions. But the thing is, it's all take experience. It takes all your maturity, right?
Okay.
Otherwise, I would say it, otherwise it's very difficult for a teacher or a professor to see that way, the way you are narrating the. I mean, like, I would say there are very few professor, they are like, have a sympathy about that students are. And that, I mean, of course, professors, I mean, they are Like, of course, they are a guru, right?
Yeah,
We tell them,
exactly. Yes.
yeah. But the thing is, it's happened sometimes. You deal with the professor, they don't care about student, they just go for studying and just completing their task. But yes, I am fortunate enough that I have a many professor. They are literally kind, and they are literally taking care of the students. But as you mentioned that what it takes, I would definitely emphasize on that it's all experience, their own grown up, in their own
Challenges
maturity.
and yes.
Yes. So without having experience, I'm not, I mean, like, a person cannot be kind enough towards you. It's a learning, I would say. And a person always, I mean, like, apart from experience, always it can learn through the reading, through some training, right? There are some training as well, like in ICR they are go for how teachers students, like, the relations, how a teacher has to go for, like, what are the aspects they have, what are the modalities they have, they can use for teaching stuff, right? But the
Yes.
thing is, as an emotional or a human values you are talking about, I would say, of course, experience, learning through the books, right? Reading through some fantastic things that can make themselves kind towards you. But if you talk about other way, of course there are, of course, you know, that there are a professor they don't care about. But and I hope that students always get a good professor for their undergrad, because I will tell you one thing is that undergrad will definitely build your character. A professor you
Exactly.
get into your undergrad,
Sure.
the way they are, at least I would say they will definitely, I mean, like, for a student perspectives, they build your characters. So I'm lucky enough that I have literally a great professor in my life, and they literally, like, of course, they encouraged, they never let me go down. And that's how you build a character in a student as well. So yeah.
Okay. Any names you would like to take of your teachers? Like a shout out to them.
Yeah, I think it would be an injustice for those if I remember, if I don't remember now, because there are many. I mean, from undergrad to postgrad, even my PhD professor, from even over here in residency, I came across every professor. I would say shout out to every professor who built me, and who just give some portion, who, like, just push me somehow. And yeah, so I would say every professor, because taking name, it would be injustice to those if I'm not
Yes.
remember night as of now. Yeah.
Okay. Amazing, amazing. Like you need to have great professors who are supporting you throughout the life, and you had many at different stages of life. Now,
I think,
yeah,
I think I would say, if a person does, I mean, like, if a person need not, I mean, like, if the person not came across a good professor, they can always approach a good mentor, as a seniors,
okay.
as a colleague, as a whatever you just think about. Like, you can build a person in, even in your mind, that
Mm-hmm.
somehow, of course, like, you can follow them, right? Let's say from the third year, as I talk about, like, I remember my thing is like Dr. Peter C. Doherty, right? You know the name. He's the one of the only veterinarian who got a Nobel Prize, and he's a
Yes,
veterinarian.
he's
So
from Australia.
yeah, so I look towards these kind of people. Like, I always feel these people are my mentor. So if you are not come across with this, with a good professor, always look for some standard. Of course, I would not say a standard, or I would not say some criteria, but the thing is, like, you can look
Someone
for
you need
professor.
to have someone in your life as
Yeah,
even if they are not in your touch, if they are not
exactly,
in your and in today's era everything is available online. The
exactly.
text people are posting their life all the social media apps, so you can approach them also, and
Yeah,
they can really inspire you.
yeah.
So now, as a graduate research fellow, you got to work with National Institute of High Security Animal Disease in Bhopal. How was your experience there working in a BSL 3 lab? What were some major learnings from Nisha that you still follow?
I think I would say literally I'm lucky that I got a chance to work in that Basel 3 lab. Uh, I mean, it's like, I guess, ICR is one of the only one, like only the one institute, I would say. I'm not sure though, but thing is, it's, at my time, there is only one institute having a PSL 3 lab facility as well as animal experimental facilities. Uh, and I think, like you, as I mentioned, that I did not like plan for it, but it just happened to me. So it was literally a great experience for a veterinarian to know that how our veterinarians are helping the world, helping the nations in terms of tastings, in terms of diagnostics, vaccines preparation, in terms of research, in terms of surveillance, right? So the journey for a 1 year at BSN3 lab like taught me a lot of stuff. Disciplines, you can say, the management, time management, how you gonna look for your experiment, how you gonna plan for the things. So yes, I think that's the turning, of course, one of the turning point in my life in terms of professional life, because it's taught me
Okay.
a lot of stuff. Uh, the main important thing is that we have a lot of like, I would say not a struggle, but the thing is, like, there are some rules, because if you go to BSL3 lab, you have to take a shower, and you when you like for three shower, you when you just go outside the lab, and every time you do the entry and exit, you have to go through this stuff. And that's why you never wanted to come, like, I mean, like, you go in the morning and you just come at the night or maybe in the evening. So
Yes.
you have to manage all this, your time, your experiment, your designing stuff, your lab stuff, and yeah, that's how I think these big lab actually give you environment, I would say. You be like with some good professor. I'm still in touch with them, and I'm literally happy that I'm still in touch with them and getting a lot of like a exchange of science, I would say.
Okay.
And they build your character. I mean, again, I would definitely say that the journey, and if you are around with some good people, definitely they will gonna build your character, professional, your mind thinking, the way you look for your science or the way you look for a life. And
Hmm.
yeah, I think it's a great learning for me.
Okay. Amazing. Amazing. Would you be interested in sharing how you got to work with Nishad?
Oh yeah, so the thing is, like, uh, so when you enter into the IVRI, and after some time, you got a choice that you like which guide you are, to whom with you gonna walk, right? To which place you gonna go, right? So there is always a choice for you. So as a as a graduate of veterinary immunology, we have a choice to go Bangalore, I guess, to go Nishad, and couple of other places as well. So, and based on your department rank, you got a chance to select. And of course, I
Okay.
was fortunate enough to select myself, and I select my guide that are working at Nishad, and that's how it's happened to me that I choose to be go there. And yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. After this, you went to Navsarai to do your PhD. You have worked on all aspect of disease diagnostics. You have developed many diagnostic examinations, set up the research lab there, and also the state's diagnostic center, which is for zero surveillance. How was your experience? And apart from this, you were also involved in teaching students, right? You were taking lectures in the Department of Microbiology, and you've been also involved in writing research paper published in journals. I'll ask you this in parts. What has what was the mindset of what was your mindset when you were doing your PhD with all the experiences? What you feel like, what differences you saw if you had to compare your PhD and Nishad's or IVRI's departmental experience? You were involved in the setting up of disease diagnostic center, and then you were teaching. How you were able to manage all these things? Because I feel like as a PhD student, you all have to do your thesis and all the other thing, and you are also taking lectures, setting up diagnostic center. How you were able to manage all of this?
Yeah, so I think it's all because of my professor, Dr. H. Kalyani. I mean, he is my guide. He's a mentor. He, I mean, like he support me a lot.
Okay.
He just believe in me, and that's how I started my journey. So I got a lot of learning from my master's time from the master's degree, and that 2 years of time, as I said, it's a turning point of my life. So
It is.
so that's how I started to look my PhD. That look, I wanted to develop my own project. So I started building my own project for as a thesis part. It was not that somebody has designed. I have designed, and I mean, like my professor give me a freedom to do your way. So,
Okay.
uh, so starting from the project. So the thing is like, if you do by your own, if you design by your own, you got a confidence that, of course, in a further in your future life, you can handle this kind of a stuff. Because as I mentioned, that in PhD as well, the people used to do their professor's project, their
Right.
professor's work.
Yes.
But if you design yourself, if you do by your own, so you can get build your confidence. First of all, you need to have a confidence to design, to execute, and to work on your own interest. So that's how I started. About for lectures and all those stuff, so like I literally wanted to communicate with the students. So master students, there are a lot of PhD students are there, so always I'm in touch with them. I was the person who trained them. Like I even helped them for their research, right? I was trying to that time I was trying to build like a mindset. I mean, like, you have to build a student mindset that look, uh, the thesis and your research, it's going to be your life. So design, you do yourself best, that can make your further life, like a future life, going to be grateful. So that's how I did. And third, like for diagnostic, of course, it was like a I mean, like I would say the lab is already running in that department
Yeah.
from like
Yeah.
maybe since like 5 to 8 years. But the thing is, some of the few things I started to develop, some of the few things I did for a culture of virus culture and other stuff for diagnostics or for research purpose. And I think it's all like out of passion, I would say. You
Okay.
you never design something, or I would definitely emphasize on once again that you do your stuff if you love, I mean, and you
You
just
need to
love.
have some passion for your work, for your discipline, whatever subject you are pursuing. You need to have
Exactly.
passion, and only things can fall in place.
Exactly, because if somebody is pressuring you, or if somebody is, it's not going to work out for a longer time.
Yeah. I
And
totally, I totally agree with this.
yeah, the thing is, somehow I like to interact communications, like giving the basics idea. Because see, the thing is, I have seen that students go for a master's, PhD, but they don't know the basics. I literally wanted to go
Yes.
to the basics, even for undergrad. If you know the basic, you will know the everything. I mean, uh, without basics of anything, you cannot do, or you cannot do better way. So for that PhD, masters and PhD build me to know the subjects basic, like how you have to handle, or how you're going to deal with the problem, and how you're going to be troubleshooting the problem. And I think that's how I mentioned that these struggles, or this kind of hard time, or maybe this kind of problem that make you interest to solve it, how you gonna solve it. And in that process, you start learning the basics of some, let's say, I would not go with some other big example, let's say a PCR, right?
Yes.
It's like you have to have a knowledge of basic principles. If you don't, you never play around with the PCRs or any other stuffs.
Okay.
Let's say if you don't know basics about the E. coli, you never know what's going on with the E. coli.
Mm.
So always you have to go through the basics. So that's how, yeah, this my PhD career build. And of course, I go through many. We will discuss about that. I go through many other visiting to the different universities,
Sure.
and exploring around the. I mean, of course, I'm a person to travel,
Amazing.
so yeah.
Apart from this, you were involved in exploring other avenues as well, as you mentioned, you were traveling, you went to other universities. You were part of Model United Nations. Now that is Immune International Model United Nations. You had a PG diploma in dairy and entrepreneurship, and you did a management internship, a completely different thing. What was all the experiences, and what were the different and new things that you learned, which you feel like that adds value to your profession, the non-academic things?
Yeah, yeah. These all are doing the PGD is also
Yeah.
just a non-academic stuff for me, because I wanted to learn and I wanted to see what's going on, how to build the stuff, how to manage the stuff, and yeah, I'm actually just approaching the stuff which very kindly. I mean, I'm not doing anything which is not making me happy. So I just do. I love to do the things that make me
Okay.
so happy, even my hobbies or even something doing this kind of a stuff. So let's first talk about the MU
Yes.
and then Model United Nations and exploring the different universities. So like there is a huge difference in the India in a private sector, like a private university and a university which is run by different way, or maybe from government or whatever the, for that sake, even other regional universities as well. So I'm not giving, I'm not taking a particular name, but the thing is, like, if you take like a top 10 universities or a engineering university, let's say, uh, but of course I went to the BITS Pilani. I would definitely take a name for that because it's a big
Yes, it
university
is.
in India. And I went there in BITS Pilani. There I have a Model United Nations competition, so it's like student representations, debate, and all the stuff they are going. You go for United Nations different council as a student. It's, let's say, UNSC, United Nations Security Council, is the cultural stuff. There's a student Lok Sabha, right? So you go and debate with them. They give you some character that, let's say, you have to give
Talk.
some
Hmm.
MP, and you have to, yeah, and you have to have uh, play a role of that particular MP, and so you go through it, and this whole 3 day or 4 day journey make you a bit of aware that how the worlds work, how the United Nations works, right? So this is my, I went there in my
Okay.
PhD time, and it was a great
Amazing.
fun to know about how the different societies they are running. And I think this is a big lack in our in vet school. There is, I think, I don't know that if it is like some changes happen right now, but uh, at my time there was like no vet university or even a college having some society build up, or some sort of group of students that are doing some activity apart from their educations. Let's say they have their IT cells, they have like some sports events, they have like a cultural groups, they have their mass media communications groups, they have like some application development software developer groups, right? And any stream guy, let's say a pharmacy guy, can go and build
Right.
applications. So somehow you develop from your own mainstream study, you develop some interest, you develop your skills, and you can start earning from that as well. So what I'm making a point over here is the environment we see in our university, in that university, it's not
Okay.
that much great. You, of course, it's a professional. You say, like, you've been saying, like, it's a professional universities or all, and we had to focus
Major
on
subjects.
our
Yeah.
like medical
Yes.
major subjects, right? So, but the thing is, you don't come out from that dogma, right? And if you go and if you travel, if you explore different university, it's amazing to see the
Right.
students how they are performing, right? After, from their engineers to they are doing some other stuff, a pharmacy guy doing some like a application development, a zoology graduate doing some kind of technical stuff. So yeah, so that's how I end up having a great experience in Model United Nation competitions at Beats Pilani. They have, I think they are organized many times, and it's a literally a great experience as a student to know about and explore about how the world works. And I think it just, you need some interest to know, you just need some interest to, it's, and I think interest or hobbies to go through
Okay.
this journey. and it was amazing time. It was amazing time that time.
Amazing. Great. Great. Why, like, you did a BVSC, MVSC, PhD, and then, like, in majority people go for government jobs or in private sector, but you went to your postdoc. Why didn't you opt for very this usual route, BVSC, MVSC, PhD, and then job? Why did you had to go for a postdoc? Like, what motivated you to feel like even after spending 10 to 12 years of your into academia, then why you felt like a postdoc is needed?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is like to know what others are doing
Hmm.
it, right? How other world, different world, I mean, like different country for that sake, approaching the research, right? Because the research we are doing, it's our own way, and these guys are doing the research with some different way. So I always have a like a curiosity to know that how they are approaching towards research, how they are approaching towards study, and how they are building the world in terms of applications. Like if you see about like who is uh, like you know that every most of the scientists from the west they are doing like for let's say for COVID vaccines also they first
Yes.
developed from the west, right? And these guys are doing in terms of research, applications and product. So I was like I
How
want
they
to
are
know
able to
that
do?
how this
Okay.
works. Yes. And what is the thing that you cannot do as a own by your own in your country, but the thing is how these develop the
Hmm.
whole system that make like survivability and how it's sustainable over here. And that's how I end up securing the postdoc positions and see like how they uh, working for that changing the
Okay.
world.
It was more of curiosity thing and to understand how the West is functioning and what differently we can do and why what different they are doing in their research and they are doing
Exactly.
very great and they I feel like the example you gave COVID-19 vaccine and I feel like they're very spontaneous and they're very uh, quick in their results and I
Exactly.
feel like they're more I don't know like I have never seen a PhD guy from but I feel like they are very strict and they are very involved in their research and they take things seriously in their research. This is my perspective. I think you can break it down like you have worked as a PhD in India
No,
as
you.
a
I
researcher
think you're
in
right.
BSL 3 lab. Like is it that different?
No, I think you are right. No, I think you are right in terms of some sort of things, but I think I would not say it's a big difference. Like after having this experience, I would
Yeah.
definitely can comment on that. That it's not a big difference that the way we are approaching the science and over here we are approaching. The major thing is like they have a
Okay.
resources and their process of availing the resources are very
Okay.
easy than what we are doing like for my PhD or let's say or for other stuff it's a big of like a struggle like you have to go through a lot of paperwork, you have to do a lot of permissions approvals, right? And there are some administrative stuff that you are struggling with or
Right.
maybe you have to deal with it. So over here is like uh, okay let's COVID-19 hits they're gonna make a committee or whatever and the scientists gonna start their working. That's it. They're gonna have
Resources are
all the
available.
resources for that available for that. So of course fundings and everything's are different than our country, but the thing is that's how they are approaching towards science. And for that I think education is the key. You know, we have to develop that education makes like
It
change
is.
the person's
Yeah.
life. And once you emphasize more on educations and then only I think we can also have a change like that way. And of course you never know, one day good things are
Amazing.
coming from
And
India as well.
and it's doing like many if we talk about IT sector, many great things are coming out of India, startups and all. And
Yeah,
to give a shout out to Indian workers, like finances, like financial banking system is amazing, like UPI and all. I
yeah.
feel like finances and resources, available resources to the scientist, is a very big like hurdle in their research. They're like the availability, that I feel like that is the
It,
main difference that I am able to see if we compare to the Western side and the Asian side. Like resources and availability and the ease of things is a big major difference that I'm able to see.
yeah, yeah, of course, because we cannot live in a denial that we
Yes,
are
we
still
are.
a developing country, right? We are still a developing economy, whatever the rank we have right now at the, whether we are in top 10 or whatever, top 5. But uh, its major thing is that we are developing economy and we have a lot of population, so the budget for science, the budget for research, that much
Yes,
not invested in India, that these guys are like allowing that much of funds to the researcher. Second point, important thing is like I think I would definitely be optimistic about it, like, because they are started doing it. The current government or whatever they are right now, they are developing in terms of they are started building some kind of a national forum where they can like, I mean, like they are just doing the similar way which US are doing it right now. They have the systems of availing the funds, and the same way the India is building. I don't know where it's going to be built, but the thing is, I think they are progressive towards the more
yes,
scientific oriented.
miss.
But let's see.
Looking forward to see the change. You went to Wexner
Yeah,
Medical Center in Ohio State University for your postdoc. There you were working with human prostate cancer across races, and then you went to an Ivy League for your clinical microbiology residency. Before we go into this, into the academic journey in the West, let us shed some light on the challenges that come when you're applying for a PhD or a postdoc. First one is finding a principal investigator, the PI, research interest, SOPs, letter of interest, letter of recommendation, the interview, and the big challenge we have, the finances and the funding and the visa. So let us start with the first one, finding a PI and research interest. How one can start for the PhD and postdoc, because many things are similar for a PhD and a postdoc.
I think, yeah, of course, the PhD, approaching towards PhD, like getting a PhD and postdoc, I think the both are a bit of same. I think the mostly I would say like a BBAC, like, I mean, we have a 5 years of journey, like a 5 years of total undergrad. We are eligible to apply
Yes,
directly for
yes.
PhD studies, right? Many students do not know about that BBAC is just uh, basic criteria that you can directly apply for PhD. But thing is, they like having BBAC is eligible in, I mean, it's making you eligible to apply for PhD. But do you able to secure the seat? Can you able to compete with other students? Do you
Okay,
have a research skill, right? Do you have a research right mindset, right? There are many questions, if, I mean, I would say. And that's how people are getting ended with like a masters. So the thing is like, we do not have a system that let you go for a research
okay.
in
Yes,
undergrad,
we still
like
don't do research.
yeah. Uh, so for like any students who is listening right now, I would definitely give them advice that if you are looking towards your PhD, if you have mind that I wanted to go for PhD, let's say you be in third year and second, or maybe second or fourth year, and develop that mindset that okay, I will definitely end up having a PhD in my life, in my maybe 2 years, 3 years, or in later stage, whatever the thing is. But if you have that idea in your mind, then start working towards your research as well. Now, take your, as I mentioned earlier, that have a free time, approach professor, start having some bit of some
Okay,
small research. Or you can also go for a seniors and ask a master's or PhD
all
scholar to
right.
help them. So you, once you develop this research mindset, once you know the research, you can start applying for the PhD as well. So for the first thing for applications, you have to build your
Okay,
CV first. Of course, that CV like comes with all this experience which you have right now, maybe some sort of paper, some sort of like articles. You can mention your that you have helped with your like your peers, or maybe you can say that you have taken some small project with your professor, or maybe you can say you have did some internship with the
Right.
research like BI, as you mentioned. Maybe you can go for IIT or IIC, any CSRI institute, or maybe DBT, TST institutes, or any autonomous institute. Or let's say for that you can go to MIT, you can go to any CSRI institute that are
Right.
located nearby, right? And of course, based on your research, based on your interest as well, you cannot just go for internship. So I mean to say that you have some interest, and you have, I mean, you should do something that like reflect in your CV,
Okay.
first of all. Secondly, it's the approach which you are talking about, and for that you are competing with the
Yes.
whole world, because many students are applying for the PhD studies, and they wanted to secure a fully funded PhD in US. So for that, I guess start approaching through LinkedIn, through Google, through some ResearchGate. There are many social media there where you can
Yes.
approach the professor as well. So approaching a professor, that would be from through LinkedIn. Maybe you can go from like a Twitter stuff, or maybe you can go for email. So for that, you can just list it out, like maybe top 100, or maybe whatsoever the university you wanted to go. Find out the professor who are working with, like what are they are working. If your interest is matched with them, just write the mail that, hey, looks, I did these things, I'm a veterinarian, and I'm really interested to pursue the
Okay.
research career in the lab. And if he interested, he gonna reply you, and you're gonna have an interview with them. So I would say emailing them, and how many email you want to write. It's completely very personal, and it's very individual, right? And I would say it's very subjective. You never come up with the thing is with the number that
Yeah.
this many email you want to write or whatever. It's just that you need a courage and passions, and I mean, like, patience
Exactly.
also you require to go for writing this email. So you build your CV, you have the cover letter like that way, and you write SOP. For SOP, like statement of purpose, like why you wanted to go for it, what is your interest, what is your purpose. In India, we do not
Yes.
have that system, like, okay, I
You're
want to go
right.
for
You'll be
masters.
writing the examination.
You just
Yeah.
apply. Yeah, so even for a PhD, nobody wanted to know uh, like what is your research plan, or what is your research aptitudes, because most of the people over here think about, I mean, they look for
Yes.
aptitudes, like, do you have that particular skill, do you have that research mindset, do you have a ability to ask the questions, do you have an ability to construct the hypothesis, right? Do you have a like ability to
Hmm.
sustain. I mean, they're gonna look for many things for PhD, because they are going to hire. They're gonna pay you money for, like, they're gonna give you a
Right.
stipend per month, and and of course they're gonna give you a bit of challenge in terms of research and the different stuff in your, and you also have to go for a coursework. So they will look as an investment that this guy or students or whatever the person coming from the world, whether they can
Okay.
achieve or not. So you have to, for that they're gonna look for SOP, that what motivates you. Like, they also ask for a motivation later, so they're gonna see that what motivates you to pursue this. What is your life turning point in your life? What is your life most challenging stuff that you did, and that's how you ended up having thinking on PhD or postdoc, right? So this how you approach them, and once you get a, like, if
Except.
they uh,
Mm.
be happy with you, and they, yeah, they're gonna call you, they're gonna say for, let's have a meeting and something like that. So but the thing is, this change, the world is changing, the world is very
Indeed.
competitive, and yeah, so thing is, you just you have to hit, and it is saying that you have to write email at the right time, at the right professor, and if you reach them at the right time, they're going
Okay.
to take you. Because I will not be in a, I mean, like, I'm not going to let a student know that you have to be a different, or you have to be like something like, see, the story, the journey, it's very going to be, it's definitely going to be specific and distinct with the different people. But let's say a person having a 4 or 5 people working on something like a parasites, or and other, and there are maybe tens and hundreds of
Working on
students
the same,
also
right.
having a strong biodata. Yeah, they are working on the same, right, from China or from other part of the world. So it is that your journey, and it is your time, or I would say a bit of luck as well, and
Yes,
mostly a luck as well, because and of course, and luck will
exactly.
comes from your hard work. So you have to just, I mean, it's a process. You just deep dive into the process, and one day definitely you're gonna end up having a
For
secure
sure,
some
for sure.
position.
Now let's talk about the
Yeah.
financial support. If you are not getting a funding from the professor, because in the West they provide funding with either they are fully funded or they are partially funded, how you can get the financial support for your PhD?
Oh yeah, I think mostly the PhD is like fully funded. So professor gonna approach you, or if they have funding for your student. So most of the time, I would say professor is gonna like happy to take a students based on their research funding, or if the university is giving fund them. And that is like a, that a GRA
Yes,
and GTA, so like a
and
graduate
graduate
research
teaching
assistants and
assistant. Yes.
graduate teaching assistants. Yeah, so and teaching assistants come from
Yeah.
a department, and department, they are supporting the students, and that's how you end up having a PhDs, I mean, like a PhD into the US, or let's say for any other country. But apart from that, there are many fellowships and scholarships are available for
Yeah.
postdocs and PhD as well. So the thing is, for a biology grad, or let's say for a vet grad, or whatever the for
Profile.
that particular uh, field, yeah, uh, we don't have that
Yes.
compiled stuff, right? So somebody has to come up, and as I did in my life before, somebody has to come up and make a list of that available fellowship or available scholarship, so that a student can have it. And I think, I'm not sure though, but there are maybe many websites or many other uh, mentors are there. They're gonna guide you for that as well. So few of them I know that about the international fellowship for from ICR. They're gonna give you for PhD as well as for a postdoc. There are like a
Yes.
DAT fellowship for Germany. There are
Fulbright.
Fulbright, yeah, there are Fulbright scholarship for PhD as well as for a postdoc. There are Commonwealth fellowship for to go to the UK or any other European country, right? And I think that's how you end up getting a
Okay.
funding. And maybe it's very big competitive, but of course you can
Sure.
try your luck.
100%. Okay. Now, like, how different is postdoc from PhD? Is PhD enough or not? Like, I see many like Indians who went to US for their PhDs and postdoc. They always end up doing a postdoc. Why is this happening? Is like PhD not enough to survive, or why?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it's I would say, first I will talk about India. So like, we have a system like, we have a master's degree and have NAT
Yeah.
qualifications, you can be eligible to
Yes.
apply for assistant professor. And that's how you enable yourself to work in a university, and that's how you make yourself a CV that can, you can challenge, or you can go for assistant professor job, and maybe in private or maybe in university sector. So of course, UGC before that, they make a rule about that
Yeah.
PhD should be a compulsory for a assistant
They
professor, but I
changed.
think they just like roll back. Yeah, they changed to
Masters.
again for the masters for national. So the thing is, of course, masters, I would say, not
Okay.
enough to have a professor in India, because it's take a lot of experience and teaching skills, right? That make you like, I mean, of course, we are not like scrutinizing the person's experience or other things. We are just saying that they are like that person having a PhD, like whether person having a degrees and that qualification and all that, and based on that you are just get selected whatever the thing is happening. So but in and that's how we just end up having a assistant
Right.
professor in India. But in US, or maybe let's say for a vast as a whole,
They
the
are.
systems are different. So yeah, so the thing is, you do PhD, and the most of the time, maybe in India as well as in other part of the world, India or as I mentioned, Europe, or maybe like let's say in Australia, other part of the world, they have fully funded or they have pre-planned PhD project. So you are not doing your own project, rather to do you are doing your professor's projects, and that's how you learn, and that's how you understand about that someone else project, and you pursue that particular field. So if you did not done anything in your PhD to see about, to learn about project designing, getting funding and securing funding, or let's say uh, if you did not come across by your own designing from the publications and all the stuff, you never know how to do this stuff. And that's how in West they developed a postdoc positions. It's just like a
Okay.
transition kind of a step between PhD to be an
All right.
assistant professor. So being a postdoc, you study that. I mean, of course, in postdoc as well, you are doing a professor work, but that positions allow you to write grant for your own
Okay. Got
funding.
it.
And apart from that, you start also thinking about whether you be able to secure a grant or not, whether you have ability
Mm.
to write a grant or not, whether you have that research mindset or not. So this is kind of a temporary projections, that where you can do a work for yourself, for your professor, and in that time you develop and you see yourself that whether you want to go for teaching, research, and of course these skills you develop by the process. And that's how people end up having a 4 to 5 years of postdoc, maybe more, and depending on their interest they are doing a research. And after that, once they got some grants or once they got enough experience, they end up having assistant professor job, or maybe they're gonna have like, if they thought that no, I'm more fit to the industry job, and they're gonna go for an industry job. So it's depending on interest. So these positions give you
Okay.
your time frame and where you can
All
figure out
right.
by
So
yourself. Yeah.
postdocs will give you opportunity to build your own research projects, writing grants, and it is a must. It is very much necessary if you want to go into academia in the West. All right.
Yeah.
Before we go to your journey to the Ivy League, let's take some questions that we got from the Geek Veterinarians. The first question is, how did Dr.
Yeah.
Dhruv Desai build his profile for postdoc position in US? How one can build their profile for PhD program in the US or the postdoc?
Yeah, I think again I would say uh, of course you can plan if you have predetermined mindset that okay, I'm gonna do PhD, and maybe early or later stage of life, then you can start building yourself
Okay.
from undergrad. And for that, I guess mostly you look towards your
All right.
research career. So once you get a degree, let's say bachelor's degree, master's degree, or PhD degree, whatever the degree you have right now, start also working on your research project, research paper, writing some review article, writing to understand literature, writing. So you can develop your writing skills, you can develop your research skill, you can writing your
Yes.
summarizing skill as a review articles. And and the thing is, if you did not get some enough experience during this journey, let's say for undergrad or postgrad, you can always go for some paid training or free training, or you can go voluntarily to shadow some clinics or maybe some research lab. You can go for internship. And the thing is, you can explore yourself at different part of the world in terms of like different criteria, different field, right? If you are interested to go for some management stuff, like go to some firm that can give you like kind of a project management internship. If you're interested in food safety, you can go for some slaughterhouse and see how the food safety inspections being done. So if you be interested into pursuing some career into like let's say a microbiology, then you can also go for some lab or some like biotechnology company, right? So that's how you build, or some that's how you just get some
Okay.
experience, and this experience maybe end up getting you a PhD as well in any part of
The
the
thing
world,
is,
I
you
would say.
just have to take the lead, and if their environment is not allowing you to do things, then you have to postpone it and you have to go out of the reach. You need to reach out to people to get things done in your favor to learn.
Yeah, I think that's my point. Like we, I mean, of course, we as a student just
Yeah.
go traditional way of learning. Like, okay, this is exams, we have to cross that, we have to do that, and we're gonna get degree. But you have to break that wall, and yeah, and somehow you can end up
Next
getting
question
PhD.
is, what is the scope if I have to move abroad after completing my PhD? Are there any job opportunities for a PhD student that they can pursue? Like they have completed their PhD and they want to move to the US. Are there any opportunities they can go for in the industry, or any industry you want to suggest? Like you can start some resources they can look up.
Yeah, I think yeah you can do that, and but the thing is, depending on your skills, depending on your interest, you can end up having a postdoc or some initial positions, right? But most all, if I be honest, then definitely a postdoc's only the way. After PhD, when you enter, or when you have like a, you can start uh, start doing some from basic, because you do, like, I mean, like, of course you have a degree, and of course you have some bit of experience, but you always start from the scratch. If you're just moving or relocating somewhere, or maybe let's say in Europe, US, somewhere else, and so it's just a starting point is to having a postdoc, take some research experience, and you can start exploring the other avenues as well. So of course there are many postdoc positions available, faculty positions are there, there are many industry jobs are available. So I think it's you just name it, and there are many opportunity for that particular
Okay.
persons it's available. It's just that your skills, it's just that your transferable skill into industry that help you to get the job. And
Okay.
yeah.
And we have the same question for if masters. I've completed my masters in microbiology. I want to pursue any jobs without passing NAVLE. It's the same question. Like you have just completed
Interesting
your
for a job.
masters, and I want to pursue my like go for the job directly without passing the NAVLE. And just to give you a heads up, NAVLE is not required for this paraclinical subjects, the microbiology, parasitology. There might be some other certification which are required, but you do not require NAVLE as to pursue to be a microbiologist or a parasitologist in the West.
Yeah, I think depending on a country, I guess there are like some requirement for
Yes.
certification like Naule or as well, but of course some of the country like they don't have a requirement to just go or pursue them
Yeah.
this residency or other stuff. But for after masters, if you wanted to go for a direct job, I think it's a bit difficult, I would say, because I mean, like, not I mean, like, yeah, of course it's so difficult to end up getting this. You can start from internship, let's say. For internship as well, of course you have to go for Navle, but without Navle it's going to be a tough. You have some network, or you have like a crack some kind of connections where you have a very good skills. Let's say being a masters, you have a skill of developing like a modeling AI model, or if you have some interest, or if you have some like outstanding extraordinary skill
Okay.
that can be like that required. Let's say you be doing some AI work in dairy management, or you have some significant achievement during your masters, definitely the university or a company gonna sponsor you. But if you be, I mean, like, of course it's impossible, I would say, that just have a master's degree without any experience, without having transferable skills, or without having any from traditional, like from just have a bachelor's and master's. It's very tough. So it's the only the thing is you can come up for PhD, and then you can look
Okay.
for other avenues.
All right. Okay. Any suggestions or advice to the new budding vets to make their profile stronger enough for graduate studies and postdoc in abroad? The PhD and the postdoc.
Yeah, I think, yeah, of course, we all made a mistake, like of not a mistakes, but we are ignorant about it, that how important the time like you are spending. Your undergrad, postgrad, it's the time is literally
It is.
important. So, as I mentioned, if you have decided to do further things in your life, just plan from now. Uh, just avoid some distraction. Of course, nobody can. Avoid some distractions, because of course you are human and have
Obviously.
some different hobbies or even fun time, and also many things you are doing during your undergrad or postgrad. So of course I would definitely give you advice that utilize your time, start building your profile in terms of your based on your interest. As I mentioned, all those internships and research skills,
Yes.
right, which you required, start getting that skills. Because a person, because when I went to the IVRI, and there are many students, they are like a much more like prepared that what they're gonna know, what they're gonna do. I mean, they already studied well enough in that undergrad. They know that they're gonna end up having these subjects. They're gonna end up having the research skills. They're gonna end up doing this all the stuff they already which they are doing in their undergraduation.
Interesting.
So the thing is, you just plan. Yeah, you just plan your time very well, utilize your time very well, acquired good skills, acquired uh, good hands-on stuff. Let's say if you be a surgeon, then start utilizing that surgery skills. You start utilizing and reading more and more about clinical subjects. If you wanted to go for preclinical subjects, then of course start building and acquiring your hands-on on molecular biology skills, molecular biology techniques. You need to go through some hands-on, so you've been not struggling with them. So once you get these things to do in your later stage, you know that of course I yeah, and you have some idea that of course I did it before. So yeah, my simple advice is like just go and utilize your
You
time
need to
very
have
well.
a roadmap. If you don't have, will be like wandering in the dark.
Yeah,
You need to take the first step, build a roadmap, at least a roadmap. At least you'll get to know where you want to go in life. Obviously it is going to
exactly.
evolve how the time is changing, how when you're moving forward, what are the things, because there is a lot. It's a 360
Yeah.
degree thing. Now to your journey to an Ivy League, from being failed in your subject, in your favorite subject, now at an Ivy League, University of Pennsylvania. How was the journey so far at the University of Pennsylvania, and how does it feel to be the best, a 1% in the world?
See, of course, I never have a dream of doing this stuff, and I mean, like, I never thought about of end up having like Ivy League university. It's just that I wanted to do the residency. I am literally passionate about to do the clinical microbiology stuff and wanted to explore, and that's how I end up having an Ivy League university. And the good thing is environment is literally a great. You'll be with surrounding with some different peoples and a great peoples. They have achieved a lot more than you as well, and you get inspired of them. You know that you be in the best university, so you can perform well as well in terms of by
Right.
looking others, right? You always get some motivation from uh, surrounding people, and I mean of course, and that's like push you to do best of your best, right? So of course the journey is so far really really great. I mean, like, I got a best experience as a clinical microbiologist in terms of in diagnostics, and it's a literally a big difference from India and in
Okay.
US, I would say. And that's making me more believe in a system of organized systems which
All
over
right.
here they are following. We do not have a structures of
Yes.
diagnostics lab. We do not have a we do not have a system that can run based on some sort of rules, based on sort of criteria, regulations.
A
There is no
protocol
such
is
stuff which we
required.
are doing it. It's just, yeah, it's just like we have in India, like it's a scattered or uh, like unorganized way of laboratories that are working on a different way. But over here it's everything is organized. So there is like I'm working in the lab that are accredited lab. These are accredited with the international standards, and that there are regulatory bodies. They are doing five, like every 5 years they are doing accreditations and managing
Okay.
the lab. So you go through all different stuff, like from regulatory taste. You do some other tests. They are like government requirement, right? It's not like you just doing taste and reporting. It's everything based on standardized. So I think this experience to know when like of course I have an experience of
Yes.
working in diagnostic lab back in India, but the thing is it's very completely different. They are working with this different sort of uh, approach. So that's literally, I mean, like I mean, incredible. And that making you so much passionate about to do the stuff, because yeah, that working in the lab, it's amazing because they all are a standard way. And it's a great learning because many things I learn anew. I mean, there are many things which we are just studying, and we
Okay.
are doing it right now.
So it
So
must be
yeah, it's a
great, like
great journey.
being at an Ivy League and working with that a very high quality and high standardized labs. Okay. Can you tell me what a microbiology resident do? Like what's the job it is? Like what's the job profile?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I think many students don't know about what is residency
Yeah.
and what is study, right? So I just wanted to
Please go
explain a
ahead.
bit. So we have masters. Yeah, so we have a master's studies. Like once you graduated, you can have an opportunity to go for masters, or you can go for PhD and other stuff that is related to the research. But in clinical subjects as well, we are doing masters. So that's like research plus clinical experience, right? It's not like just a clinical experience, and it is not more emphasized on clinical experience. But uh, so this is the system we are following. But the system what these guys are following is like, once you have a veterinary medicine degree, so it's a professional degree, they are saying, like, because you are a doctor of veterinary medicines. And that's why they have a system that they call is residency. And residency means you have to go through different aspects. So your major time is in diagnostics for me, and let's say for some surgery guy or maybe a dermatology resident, they are like spending their more time in handling the case, handling the patients, treating the patients with with their mentor. And same for me. So I spend most of time in diagnostics doing uh, diagnostics in terms of identifying a bacteria or maybe some other stuff, and uh, reporting to the client. And the same way for other internal medicine persons gonna go for treatments and gonna take care of all the therapy which that patient has to go through it. And finally it's going to be like
Okay.
reporting as well for them as well. So this is a one aspect, and this is a major aspect that you have to go through it. Secondly is like teachings, like you be involved with the teaching to DVM students, rotating students, or internship students, or maybe summer research students. And there are many students, they are like volunteering as well to the lab. Over here is
Yes,
like
summer
they have a summer
internships and
break,
all.
so they are, let's say, undergrad. Yeah, they go for summer internship, they go for many other avenues. So that's how I mentor them. And there's a from the basics, I train them, and that's how I working as a teachers, or maybe like some part of what teaching stuff. And the third stuff is the research stuff. So you may be utilizing some clinical oriented research. I would say it's not a basic research you are doing with, but it's mostly clinical based research where you can report the stuff, because reporting is literally important. Let's say you are end up having some different case, maybe I would say, just say
Mm.
like a diaphragmatic hernia, and how you're going to approach, how you're going to do it, how you're going to treat them, how you're going to, what is your plan of treatment, what is your, what you have done something differently, and you can report it. I mean, I think it's nothing wrong in to report this kind of a thing, and that's how we report. That's how we do some kind of research based on some samples, and getting some samples, or maybe some kind of other research that are applicable research as well. So depending on the interest, we also go through some bit of a research portion. So that's how you train yourself from diagnostics, teachings, maybe research, and maybe other service as well. So this is how it look like your residency. Of course, it's bit a difference based on the institutes, based on the universities, based on the other goal of the
Okay,
residency. But
amazing,
yeah,
amazing. As you mentioned about the summer internship program, how does the interactions come with the new upcoming interns? They are like what they are learning. How does that conversation go? Like I feel like they why they are doing why they are spending their time into this because they have the some sparks and they some happen. How does that interaction go with the interns? Like what are their questions, the queries?
yeah. So let's just first understand what is the system, right? Of course, it starts from interest for the summers,
Mm-hmm.
like to the undergrad students. Like if they have interest, they can come up, they can have, or maybe let's say for a DVM student as well, if they have interest, they gonna end up having some research rotation, research interest, or maybe research internship in a lab they wanted to go for. But yes, that's how they it starts. But the thing is, it's like a system. I mean to say that they have developed a system that a person have to do some extraordinary work so that they can go for medical degree, or they can go for vet medicines, because over here undergraduation is same for all. After 4 years of undergrad, they're gonna go for
Mm,
PhD
yes.
or DVM studies, or maybe they go want to go for medical studies, right? And for that admissions, you show your CV, you show your stuff that you
Okay.
did this during undergrad. Let it be of research, maybe some kind of a volunteering stuff, or maybe you're gonna go for some other things as well. So that's how these people are end up having a summer internship. So of course they I mean, like, I have to go through some basics. They don't know research lab experience, they don't have the thing is, but they also have a theory. Like, of course they know the theory basics. So uh, so yeah, the thing is, they are like pretty smart people, I would say, because they are also learning informally. We have just a formal way of teaching, but the students over here, they are also learning from by them own. It's not like spoon feeding, I would say. They learn a lot of stuff by their own, by themselves. And so you end up having a summer research students have some idea what is PCR, what is a western blot, or what we are doing, what we how we are isolating DNA, and some have some concept, and once you have a concept, it's very easy to interact with them, and they are also happily like ready to learn something. And it's a good thing. Like, you interact with students, and they are learning something, and within some time they are doing, like, they are capable
Amazing,
enough to do
amazing.
the
It
research
it
project
must
as
be
well.
amazing to like, and you also get to learn from the students, like their different perspective, and I feel like
Exactly.
it adds more to your personality and your character that we had discussed little back.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because the
Exactly.
thing is, every students are different, right? So the your approach is not going to be same for all the students. So depending on a person's
Mm,
interest, depending on a person, the way she or he gonna learn, you change your perspective, you change your approach, you change the skills. Let's say, uh, I'm go through the pipetting, like what are different type of pipettings, how we gonna, what is the importance of DNA isolations, what is the basics for DNA isolation, what chemicals are working for. So depending on the interest, I would say I let them know the stuff, and yeah, that's
amazing,
how
amazing.
it's just working.
Going back to the residency thing, what samples you get on a regular basis, or
Mhm.
or have you worked with any unusual sample and you will like, what is this amazing thing? Like some amazing thing that you have worked with.
Yeah, so because we are getting a lot of fish samples. So I think
Amazing.
this is the most interesting aquatic. Yeah. So I think we are getting a lot of fish sample, aquatic samples. I have experienced one of the frog samples because they are
Yes.
frogs or aquatics. They are pet over here, and they used to have a, yeah. I think so. We do the microbial, like bacterial isolations, and we identify what's problems going on. So yeah, these are the some great sample that we encounter as a microbiologist, and we also, it's challenging for us,
Amazing.
and we also, that's how we learn as well. So the good thing is, it's, as I mentioned, it's a system these guys are following. Like like they do not go for treatment without diagnosis, and based on diagnostics they choose their, I mean, they go for like antibiotic treatments. They're gonna go for like preventive control measurement or whatever they're gonna go for. But the thing is, it's based on your results. Infections preventions control team gonna approach that particular case, that particular incidents, and they're gonna, based on that, they're gonna go for measurement that can be prevented in the futures. And if it is a big stuff, then they're gonna go for culling, right? So somehow they have a policy, somehow they have a approach towards infections, so they can like control, they can have a big control based on their uh, regions, based on their states, based on their like different parts of the world as well. So if I talk about over here, we have different regulatory bodies, so
Yes.
we need to report them. So yeah, so these are the fish samples and some of the other stuff. It was like very great to know, very
Amazing.
great to
Amazing.
perform that
What
as well.
what diagnostic tools you are using? Like if you are like if you can comment on that.
Oh yeah, I think mostly we use for, like, let's say for molecular diagnostic, we definitely go for real-time PCR. If we are interested and to go for development some other stuff, then we also have next generation sequencing stuff. And for bacteriology, of course, the bacteriology is a very traditional way of doing for isolation of bacteria. But of course, for identifications, we have a multitude of machines, and we have very high sensitive and very advanced versions where we can make a diagnostics very easily. Where in, if I compare it, but as I mentioned earlier, that we don't have that much of resource. So many vet lab, they hardly they gonna have a multitude for identifications. So they just go for biochemical way of identification stuff.
Okay,
And yeah,
can you like spell what is Malitov? Like I'm hearing it for the first time. I'm too much involved into scientific learning and advancement, but this is something I'm hearing for the first time.
oh yeah. So it's a matrix assisted laser disruptions time of flight. I think it's like a whole full
It's an
name. Like
abbreviation,
it's called a
right?
Malditov. It's a based on, yeah, it's abbreviations of Malditov. It's based on a spectros, like it's a spectroscopy that based on that you go for identification. It's actually doing like uh, protein mass of bacteria. Of course they're going to have a different proteins and different their carbohydrate stuff, so right. So it based on the protein mass we are identifying the bacteria. Let's say maybe go for it species level identifications we are doing. So it's one of the greatest invention, I would say, that we can have identification within a
Amazing.
2 minutes or 1 minute as well, depending on
This is
different
amazing.
systems. Yeah,
Amazing. I would love to visit the UPenn clinical lab someday. Someday.
yeah,
Now,
sure.
moving towards the most important question, why a vet student should consider microbiology or any paraclinical subject over other clinical subjects? Because many vet graduates, many vet students wants to get into clinical surgery, medicine, gynecology. Why they should opt for microbiology or any other this subclinical subject?
I think it's bit of personal. Definitely, it's a personal choice of a individual, I would say. But the thing is, yeah, I mean, people are doing it based on the avenues, or maybe doing based on like opportunity what they're gonna go at, or based on they're gonna do the chances of doing well, or maybe they're like, I mean, like there are many prospects of doing the paraclinical subjects of like masters or PhD degrees on that particular field. But I think there is not a, I would say there is not a specific answer I was gonna, I mean, like I'm gonna let you know. But it's definitely going to be end up having a personal choice of any individual that gonna see a future doing great in their clinical subjects rather than clinical subjects. But maybe second thing I would say, maybe the environment. Again, I'm going to emphasizing like same in like same prospect, that is, I mean, same perspective, that is the environment which we are not getting well, because we see that clinical subjects of vet practicing in a village, or vet practicing in a city, vet practicing in a other part of India, people
Yes.
looked some other way, right? You know that people are gonna bullying you, that it's just he's an animal doctor, so he's just like, these guys are doing some other stuff with the animals and doing some kind of a dirty job. So I would say I may be wrong. I'm not sure that whether this is the perspective or this is one of the criteria, one of the environment that leads a paraclinical way of journey to for a individual person. But I think this is maybe a one of criteria, I would say, that the way we are approaching veterinarians in India, the fields, and the way the persons or the veterinarian gonna get respect in India. That's how people are end up having a paraclinical subjects. But I'm not sure. But nowadays it's changing. There are many vets are doing great in India. Even abroad, they are doing a lot of great stuff by their clinical practice. So I think my just suggestion that
Indeed.
is just believe in yourself. That's I would say, because I'm not. I don't know that why people are going for paraclinical subject, but for me, it's very interesting for a subject matter stuff. So that's why I opted this field. But yeah, I have seen that. I have faced many veterinarians are facing that, how the people are not much respectful for a veterinarian.
To I would like to say, to add this, many veterinarians, they are veterinarian, but they are not respecting the field. They feel like, we are just vets, right? We are just,
Okay.
they have this inferiority complex. They feel they label themselves as inferior if they, because they could not get into a medical school or in something otherwise. So I feel like this is a major problem because they undermine the authority of a veterinarian.
Yeah, but I think it comes also based on the system, right? Because you have a good system, you have a good way of approaching vet medicines, then maybe it's not the person's, like that's what I'm saying, the how a person builds that
Yes.
thought process, how you, yeah, so how you uh, build your the way of thinking. It's just based on environment, and just based on the system which we are following. Many students don't know that, as I mentioned earlier, that you can go for PhD after BBSc. Why they are not knowing it? Because nobody told them. Nobody has done that. Nobody have that knowledge. Nobody have that information. So what is a traditional way of approaching of vet medicine? It's just like go for
Yes.
bachelor's and go get a job, and go to masters and get a job. So it's just a system that allow allow you to think that you are inferior. But again, you have to think yourself. If you are living in that environment, you have to break that environment, and you have to believe
Okay.
in yourself. That's it, I
Amazing.
would say.
Amazing. This is the, I feel like environment is playing a very major role in shaping you. Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think not just me, I would definitely let other students know that, I mean, for their life, some way or other way, or some way or in their life, they're gonna experience these things as well. So I'm just gonna give you one example. Maybe I'm wrong, for or maybe I'm not
Yes,
sure though. But
please.
thing is, like, let's say, yeah, let's say maybe like a person who, not performing well in, let's say, in their undergrad, or maybe let's say come up with some very less grade, or they don't know
Basics.
the uh, let's say basics, or maybe their surgery skills are not good, and it's like let's just assume that very notorious. Of course I'm not the person to classify some any people, but if that particular person gonna put you into the IVRI, or maybe let's say in a high performing institute, he gonna perform very well. It's just like you have seen some animal experiment as well. uh, Animals, or maybe mice, or let's say for any living being, if you had a get a if you like that animal is in a bad
Anything.
environment,
Right.
not going to do anything. And there are many animal experiment right now is there in YouTube, or maybe other way. There are literature that if you have a good environment, your development is going to be great. If you be in a bad environments, you're mostly like more than 50% of that population is not going to not going to perform very well. So that's how I look to see, because see, if you think about your uh, let's just give you your example from your batch. Only the you wanted to go for this kind of avenues, and
Yeah.
you are doing based on experience, right? So you did it because you wanted to do that, you believe in yourself. Otherwise it's just like you're gonna go for a traditional way of your degree, and they're gonna end up a master's. So that's how it's impact. So uh, but to cross this environment, what I'm talking about is for a majority of people, let's say um, from my batch, I guess very hardly few students, like maybe two or three students, achieve. I mean, for a doctoral degree, and they're gonna go for that path. But most of them end up getting a job, and so why it's happened? Because they don't have that environment, or they don't have that thought process to do that things, right? But if you go to IIT, if you go through some other university where they're gonna get a great environment, then you're gonna need that mostly 30-40% people are
Right.
doing UPSC, some 40-50% doing IIM. They're gonna end up getting a high paying job. So they are doing based on their environment. If you be in a great environment, you're
Indeed.
gonna perform
Indeed.
very, very well.
Like, yeah, sure,
I can
please.
I can even give you
Yeah.
one more example about myself. If I be like, if I right now doing a let's say doing some other job apart from microbiology, or maybe let's say from paraclinical, I maybe not going to perform well, right? Because that's environment going to be changed, that field is going to be changed, and many things going to be changed. I mean, like, I'm just giving you this example. Of course, a person like me or person like you gonna definitely doing a
Yeah.
great with any challenge, but this is how
Yeah,
we
exactly.
gonna
I
look
feel
towards
like
life.
sometimes mostly environment is not going to be in your favor. You have to build your mindset in
Exactly.
a very strong way. You don't have to yield to the situation or to the bad environment, right? You need to get through it, and then you have to get what I said when we were discussing about the building the profile, getting the experience. This is the very same thing in life, right? You need to build your perspective, you need to build your mind and move forward to that, because not every time the environment is
Yeah,
not going to provide you the situation. Like, the environment is not going to be in your favor always. It might be against you, right? You need to go
of course.
against the flow, whatever. It's like you have to be like working, you need to put in the hours, you need to go there and get shit done.
But yeah, of course, if all the student gonna thinking like this way, then you're gonna have a millionaires, and you're gonna have a lot
In
of people doing this same
We need
the
more
same
such
thing, right?
people, we need such more people to take this field to greatness, right?
Yeah, of course, of course,
It's
of
two
course.
it's two or three
Yeah, I
people
think
who
you are
open the
right.
first gateway, who take the first step, and then the other follows, right?
No, of course, you said very well that environment is not going to some always going to be favorable, but it's just like how you think that way. I mean, like, say, what I mean to say of environment
Yes.
means a challenge. You know, if you be, let's say, there are many examples out there. Like, if you are not get a challenge in your in your initial life, you don't be a stronger person in a later stage. So any kind of a sort of challenge, and if you, I mean, environment that you get, you have some belief of yourself that of course I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that stuff. But it's very hard reality, or very harsh reality which we have, that not all people are thinking, but as you mentioned, we need many people that can pursue their own belief, they can pursue
Exactly.
their own dream. And I think that's, they are a great
I
people
feel
who
like
pursue that
right
dream, I
now in
think.
the era in which we are living, it is very much different if we go a little back, a bit back, 2 or 3 decade back. Like now we are in the internet, information is accessible, everything is accessible. Like you can hire writers, developers to make things for you easily. Back then, the struggle was very much different. Yet there were people who went out of their league, who went out of the very normal that structure. they
Yeah,
they did very great things, right? To take up an example, Dr. DV Reddy is
yeah,
the first name which comes to my mind. He went to Germany, he did many things, like he coming
yeah,
from a very small town in south of India, yet he did great things, right? If those guys can do in
yeah,
that era, when internet was not accessible, books were very
of
much
course.
expensive, libraries did not have a lot of latest tech like this, right? Books, it was nowadays you just go to Google, hit write any book, and it is coming up to you. You can buy it or you can like read it from the soft copy. If those guys can do it, we can also do that thing, right? I'm not asking everyone to do, I don't
Definitely.
like expect everyone to do that thing, like go every, it's not like you will have everyone building startups or doing something. At least a good portion, like those who have the caliber, they
Yeah.
should pursue it.
No, I think, of course, at the end of the day, you be like doing, like you should
Yeah,
pursue
exactly. Yes,
whatever you
this
want
is
to
this
do.
is
That
this is
I would
what
say.
I feel like. If you are in a field and you, because in veterinary medicine it has thousands of opportunities, thousands of loopholes which you can fill and you can do amazing. You will be like, to take up an example, India has a big coastal line. We don't have a single marine veterinary college. Now things are building. Now things are doing. Now there
True.
are doctors who are doing this, who are taking. Why we don't have? It's not like the ocean came up one day and like, okay, now we have a, but someone
Yeah.
didn't think this perspective, right? Why we have this, right? We have mammals like
Exactly.
dolphin, other kind of fishes also. Like we need to, if you feel like yes, this is something I can do that, and I'm for sure you will be successful. It's just you have
Exactly.
to sit, take
Obviously, I
a
think.
little breath,
Uh,
and just you need to think, and you just need to look for the bigger perspective. This is so far this is what I felt like.
no,
You
of
need
course,
to take a step back and then you need to take a look at the bigger picture, rather than just being focusing to
of
the
course, of
government
course.
job or the private sector running your clinics. There is a lot of greater thing. You gave the example of when we were discussing in the preliminary talk, you gave the example of Dr. Naveen Kumar, now who is the director of this NIH. And even today,
Yeah, yeah,
one of our professors, he took his name as an example of doing greatness. So this is something like
yeah.
people did. People are doing great. You can also do that.
No, of course, of course. See, I would say a good environment or a bad environment, wherever you are living it, it's at the end of the day your
Exactly.
determination going to, like, or your mindset going to decide that what you're gonna do. It, you're gonna surrender the situations, or you're gonna fight that situation, correct? So I always tell to myself that either, I mean, you should go and find your own worth. Go to that era, go to that place, or go to that particular country, or go to that particular institute where you can find your own worth, or you can
100%.
create your own worth, right? And secondly, as you mentioned, that it's always going to be your mindset, always going to be your approach that leads to your particular success. And of course, success is
Yes,
very
indeed, indeed.
subjective depending on people's mind. Yeah, so I would say the bottom line is that Just I pursue, do a stuff that make you satisfied, achieve your goals. Don't be shy, don't be like, there are a lot of going to be a challenge, there are a lot of going to be a bullying, leg pulling, there are a lot of things going to be like making you like a troubles. There are a lot of things gonna you gonna see in your life, there are a lot of shit going to be happen. But at the end of the day, your goal, your pursuit, like what you want to go for your life, and apart from everything,
Indeed,
it's
if you
just
are
the
not even
satisfactions.
indeed,
you
if
know
you are not satisfied with what you have or what you are trying to achieve, you will never be
that
satisfied, even if you have 10 postdocs under the bag.
exactly, exactly. And even if that's what I'm talking, like when I was started my residency, and I was like, there are some, I
Minds.
was following same like a same schedule. And uh, when I'm like doing this thing, when I was going to the lab, I always I always used to tell myself that I'm so happy with this lab. I'm so happy to go this lab. It's make me
Yeah,
satisfied to be
it
working in
comes,
the lab.
even I feel like there
And
it comes from within, and
that's
you are
yeah,
doing something and you feel happy. Like right now I'm doing this and I'm feeling happy, like I'm doing something,
exactly,
like this is it comes innate.
exactly, exactly. So if a person wanted to go for a job, a person wanted to do masters, they can do whatever they wanted to do, but at the end you be satisfied. That's how you make yourself happy, and do whatever makes happy. I always tell myself, do whatever make you happy and
Exactly.
successful in your life.
Exactly.
Otherwise there are a lot of challenge.
To conclude this engaging conversation, Dr. Desai, share a message with our listeners, a message that underscores the significance of your work and its far reaching impact on the realms of veterinary microbiology, virology, immunity, and academia. Please, sir, the floor is all yours.
I think I this is like, I wanted to let everyone knows that don't struggle with your past,
Amazing.
change your future. Don't live in past. There are a lot of shit happen, there are a lot of things you are going through it, there are a lot of things you're gonna did, or you failed, you got happiness, you be sad. It's not going to matter at all. So the present and future is yours, so don't struggle with your past, again I would say, and change your futures. And the second point is, do whatever makes you happy and satisfied at the end of the day. You be in USA, you be in Africa, you go to some New Zealand, whatever the country, you be in India, doing some great work in India, being get there, being vet, being a vet, you be in some uh, Jammu Kashmir, or maybe you be in Tamil Nadu, whatever the state you be doing, whatever the things you are doing as a vet practitioner you are doing, or whatever you maybe working in diagnostics lab, maybe engage with the research. At least, as you mentioned, I would say that do with your own all passion, do with all satisfactions, and do with your perfections. And again, just do the
Indeed.
things that make you happy, that at the end of the day you'll be satisfied. So I think I'm really thankful, Dr. Aman, that you gonna, I mean, let me come to your platform and sharing my journey. Of course, there is miles to go and there are a lot of things to do. And of course, I will budding vets. I will definitely let them know that just be courageous, be have a motivations, and build yourself. Not we just don't want to uh, waste your time. Don't waste your time in undergrad. Don't waste your time in whenever you are in your career. Just build yourself, and once you build yourself, automatically your veterinary field is going to build. System will change, and you'll be happy with whatever you have. So thank you, Aman, that letting me come over here in your channel, and I wish all the best for that journey, the persons who are listening to us, and I think
Thank you so
best
much,
of
sir.
luck for your
Thank you
life.
so much for giving your time, sharing your experiences and your amazing journey. And this was Dr. Dhruv Desai, a veterinary microbiologist, a clinician, an amazing mentor to me. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for your interest in veterinary medicine. Thank you.